Um, Welcome to our party, our very first party and Skillshare in this particular form and fashion. There are folks here from all the years of Ignite trainings. Maybe drop your year that you took the training in the chat. It would be so cool to see. Some of you are 2025, some of you are 2026, like about to take the training. Some of you, I see 2020, I see all different years. Yeah, 25, 25, 24, now 23. And then I would love if there's anyone here who is like, my friend just invited me to go to. So if you've never taken an Ignite training or a course, I'm just curious to see who, wait, no, 2024. Yeah. The years blur, right? 2023. That's amazing. Yeah, so if there's anyone here who's never taken a course or training or is just here with a friend, maybe you can drop friend or yeah, like IG or like a number one if you're like just curious. We're all welcome, whether you've taken a training, whether you've taken every single training. Um, some of you I know have done that. And and I just want to celebrate, right? Because we're creating that world of people who care about yoga, who care about changing the world with yogic practice. And we're bringing our leadership forward in this way that's so truly inclusive. I also just want to pause for a second and say, can you hear my dogs very excitedly barking? A little bit. I live in a home with two dogs. I share it with some community members, family members. And so you might hear just some different activity going on outside. And just to let you know, I'm just going to go and check because I think someone might be at the door. But I'll pass to Linda. If you can just say hi, maybe say how you got involved in Ignite, your journey, and what you do now. I think that'd be great. I'll pass to you.
Hi everyone. It's so good to see your faces and your names and wow. And it's just beautiful to see folks who are joining the upcoming cohort and folks who just literally graduated. Was that yeah, not even a week. That was Saturday, right? And then 2023 and so on and so forth. So I learned about Susanna on Instagram. And I took the YTT 300 in 2020. I always knew I wanted to take a 300 hour and was just always trying to figure it out in terms of like timing and finances and the fact that it was online and it was 2020. I was like, this is perfect. I'm such a yes for this. And I've shared this, I think almost in every cohort. The training itself completely shifted and changed the way that I show up to teach and to guide yoga. And in always feeling that there was something so important about honoring yoga's roots and like that curiosity that brought me to the training, it's actually really opened, shifted, grounded me in my own roots, which has been like the most powerful thing over the last, 6 years of my life. It's changed again, like the way that I teach and guide yoga, but it's also changed the vision that I have for how I want to show up in the world, how I want to be in community, how I want to be in service. And so today I act as the lead mentor for the YTTs and I get to meet wonderful people just like yourselves. And I learn from you and really appreciate getting to connect with you and to be in these beautiful sacred containers. So a little bit about me. I'll be here for the entirety of the call. So if you have any questions, feel free to message me in the chat. And yeah, sending you lots of love and care. Thank you.
Yay, Linda. It's just, it's like so magical how it all happened, you know? Um, It's really amazing. So I wanted to also just acknowledge it is a decade that Ignite has been operating. And it started in my backyard in a converted garage because people in my friend group, I was a teacher before I taught high school. People in my friend group were like, hey, you're different. And I and my community could really use the tools that this was after I came back from studying and training in India. I could really use some of the tools that I see you have. And so the very first cohort was all folks of color. It was folks working with people in recovery, trauma survivors, right? It was very like community oriented and service based. And it stayed the same way through this last 10 years because we've trained over 2,000 students in the 200 hour, which is the foundational training, the 300 hour, which is the advanced training. And every single cohort, there's not just like one scholarship student. I don't know if anyone's been that scholarship student. I certainly have. It's so terrible and awkward when you're like the only one. Um, like half the training, you know? So anywhere between 20 and 50% of our trainings are aimed at or are open to folks who could not access teacher training, like high quality, in-depth teacher training, in order to achieve a much bigger goal of like, of course, each individual person, but also changing the shape and the face of who gets to share what it means to be well, to lead with yoga, whether we ever formally teach or not. And so I'm just really excited. I often don't pause to like celebrate and mark the moment of these things. But a decade is a long time. And we are just going to continue to do this amazing work. Um, I'm also really excited. I'm going to drop the plan for today, which is I want to share a little bit about just some like ground rules for being together, especially because we got folks from all different years. They'll look familiar for people new to us, just so you can kind of hear them. I'll share the Embody Yoga's Roots teacher registry, which is new. And I'm very excited. And so if you're a grad or, in grad, I use broadly, like you don't have to have finished all the requirements, but if you ever took a training and you would like to be on the registry, it will explain how. And then a little bit about what we've accomplished, which I kind of already shared, what's coming up. And then the whole purpose of this is to celebrate you, like students, to work together, to see what we're up to. It's really amazing. I can't wait for you to see. And the folks who are sharing today, we have 4 folks. We'll do more of these, so we'll have more skill shares, but to really share skills, right? To learn from one another. And so the person will share for about 10 minutes and then we'll give feedback or ask questions in the chat. I want to really emphasize something. It's so important that the feedback follow yogic ethics and really be supportive. Unless the person specifically asks for constructive feedback, we're not giving constructive feedback, right? It's not a place where advice is like freely thrown around. We're really just offering that darshan, that loving presence to support emerging work. And then if we have time, which I think we will, we scheduled an hour and a half because we didn't want to be rushed. So if you can stay through the end, we'll do some breakout groups, which will be for us to really just connect with one another, how we are, how yoga is moving in our lives. Any questions about what we're going to explore here? And okay, great. I'm going to share my screen just so you can see. Not that. Okay, can you see Embody Yoga's Roots Safe and Brave Space guidelines? So this will be a shorter version of what we go into in our teacher trainings and the trauma-informed yoga social justice space. But we're here together as a path of personal and social change. And this is an image I took in the Gandhi ashram where, we're living these values. Yogic values they're not fossils, they're not dead. Yes, they are ancient, but they are very much alive today, both with all of us and in in India, where yoga originated. And so our vision for this space is to practice yogic ethics, right? So we're agreeing to, and in a moment, I'll ask you to do something to indicate your agreement, to dismantle cultures of dominance, white supremacy, of hierarchy, while building a liberatory community of mutual support. This is radical. This is counter to what colonialism and most of our institutions, schools, are ask of us. There's hierarchy, there's dominance, there's control, there's, forcing ourselves into shapes that don't fit. And this is absolutely not what we're doing. We're here to uplift ourselves and each other, to practice ahimsa, non-harm, satya, truthfulness, asteya, generosity and non-stealing, brahmacharya, energy management and care, and aparigraha, non-attachment. Truly, I think we can sum all of this up in yoga as unity. And then the niyamas, so the grounding ethics of yoga, saucha, intentionality and simplicity, santosha, to cultivate joy, right? This is a celebration, a wrap of the year with yoga for you, and perhaps vision towards what is to come in 2026 by bringing yogic ethics forward for you. Tapas, effort and passion, svadhyaya, self-reflection, and Ishvara pranidhana, devotion. Here, if you have a body, you have a yoga body. It is yogic and part of the tradition to live in and explore identity beyond false binaries. And yoga isn't something that you do, it's something that you are. These are all little things I created over the years. And we don't get to unity by erasing diversity, right? Like you, the absolute incredible individual manifestation of you that is in this space, is completely welcome just as you are. And the last piece is just remembering that part of what it is to decolonize yoga is to live into all of what yoga is, an organized system of personal and social liberation. The yamas, ethics, niyamas, which we talked about, asana, physical practice, pranayama, breath work, pratyahara, sensory focus, dharana, mindfulness, dhyana, meditation, and samadhi, bliss and union, and so much more. And so if you feel in agreement with those, maybe we can have everyone indicate that either by like raising a hand, you can type a Y in the chat, or, somehow do a reaction. So are we in agreement? And as in every space that we're in, yes, lots of agreement. Anything to add? Anything where, what I realized I didn't explicitly say, right? But we're a space that's queer centering, that's gender inclusive, that doesn't gender essentialize. Is there anything important that is also working for caste abolition, working for abolition of all inequities, right? And for reparations. So there's so much that could be said, but if there's something to add, please add it in the chat or out loud. I see a few hands. I don't know if you want to speak, so I'll leave it a little space for anyone wants to add. Okay. Please add in anything that would help you feel like, oh, I can be here. I feel welcome. Inclusion means all. Yeah. Liberation for all beings. Okay. So we'll take a moment just to drop into that space of oneness while honoring our unique individual essences. And then we'll move into our Skillshare and our next things. Okay, So just taking a moment, you can find an easeful way to be, whether that's sitting or standing or lying down. And I'll invite you to lift your arms up any amount away from the earth, up over your head towards the sky. Take a deep breath in, expanding. And then on your exhale, releasing your arms down towards the earth. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, expansion. Exhale, release. Inhale once more, expanding. And this time, as you expand, maybe taking one hand around the other wrist and stretching through your side body. And then exhale, other direction, stretching through your other side. Inhale, expanding. Exhale, releasing. And this is the cosmic spanda of expansion and contraction. So inhale, expand, exhale, release. And you might feel this and want to express this more vibrantly, expressively, like almost like a cat cow inhale and exhale, or perhaps it's very subtle in your body. It's just like a gentle, ooh, I subtly notice the inhale. I subtly notice the exhale. I subtly notice expansion and contraction. And honoring that each of us individually has our own natural rhythm of expansion and contraction. And you may be in a season of more contraction or more expansion now. And so taking a moment to notice, or notice if it's rather interwoven for you. Perhaps placing a hand on your heart or a hand on your belly. And just honoring your natural rhythm. Knowing that yoga offers tools that help you show up exactly as you are without needing to be different, without needing to force yourself to expand or to contract. And just taking a moment to check in. What do I need right now? Just asking that is a powerful reflection. Is there anything that would nourish me as this year ends, as the new year begins? What is serving my fullest expansion and expression, which very well could be time and space to rest and heal. And when you're ready, bringing your hands together in Anjali Mudra, so both palms, left and right palm touch, and meet at heart center. And we'll open the space with a Shanti mantra, one of the mantras that wishes for well-being for all beings. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. And you can chant with me if you know it, or just receive, beginning and ending with Om. It is a wish for you and all beings to be happy, to be safe, to be free from suffering, and full of everlasting joy. Deep breath in, full breath out. Inhale to chant or receive. Om Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om. And thank you. Thanking yourself for your presence here, for your practice, and taking a moment now to look around the space that you're in, noticing form and shape and color, acknowledging how even a little practice like that can really shift our state and how important that is to offer ourselves those times. Okay. I'd love if you could drop a word in the chat or two words of how you're feeling now after that practice. And I will not be offended if you're like, I was distracted or I feel sleepy. I'm just curious how that landed for you. Quieter, joy, present, grounded, peace, more restful. Mm, felt the light within, still settled. Yeah. Thank you. You can keep those coming. Distracted, lighter, more present. So I'm going to share my screen just for a moment, again, to share with you a little bit of what we've been up to. And we have, and then also the registry, which I think a lot of you will be excited to see, to join. So we updated our website because it was time. I was using the same website I had designed years ago, and when we started almost a decade ago. And we've, in free trainings, trained way over 10,000 people. We have been teaching for 15 years, although Ignite itself has been around for a decade. Um, we have a global faculty. We've won 3 awards in thought leadership with yoga. And we offer 4 signature programs, a 200-hour YTT, Yoga Teacher Training Foundations, a 300-hour advanced, a trauma-informed yoga and social justice certification, and a yoga therapy certification, which is coming soon. And so you can get information about that by joining the waitlist there. I'll be sending out some information shortly. Just a little bit about me. I am a PhD scholar in yoga psychology. I've written 2 books, Embrace Yoga's Roots, Ignite Your Yoga. And I love to teach and I love to learn and I love to collaborate. There's a lot of free things on here as well. So the books are there. If you're like, I don't want to, I just want to kind of like be in the energy, but not take a training. Got a magazine, we have resources here, we have a whole app that's free. You can also post on there. And we just created a teacher registry. And so I'm really thrilled for you to get to see this. So the teacher registry is for anyone who has taken, and I'll just show you, right? Like the 200-hour, these are really in-depth trainings. Anyone who's gone through them can share their, you have a year and a half with the material and training through half a year in depth. So this is the 200-hour. We're starting a new training in January, but we go over everything from ethics to power, privilege, right? I won't cover all of it, right? But it's a lot that we go into. And so much of what we're doing is exploring yoga school, not school. And so part of that, in addition to the mentoring and all of those things, is students create a project. a next experience. And so that next experience is what you'll see folks share today. And they might have taken the 200, they might have taken the 300 hour, which is an in-depth, right, advanced training. So again, just looking at like what folks are going into, energy anatomy, diversity, equity, inclusion, teaching accessibly, social justice, seva, and leadership, right? So, or the trauma informed yoga social justice certification, which I think the most interesting thing to me and what I've been so excited about with the projects that, and you might see some here, is that here, this is not like a YTT. This is like a certification above and beyond a YTT where you're going into applying yogic leadership to these different areas, like justice issues, like equity, like human rights, like intersectional feminism, right? So it's going into deep dive into trauma informed yoga and social justice. And so some of the programs or the projects that you'll see are grads from different years of these trainings. And so, for example, um, you've got Souls who did yoga for accessibility in a queer dance space. And so and Linda, I think you might have, I'm not looking at the chat, but you're dropping the link to add your information. So we ask you what contact info you want, your own summary of the project, right? And here we've got a project that Michelle did, Becoming Kapwa Sangha, a yoga circle for Filipinx to connect and cultivate. And so then this is like fun for you. Later, you can go in and look at all of these amazing projects. There's so many projects that you can explore, and we'll just be adding more. Constina, who's here, Black Voices in Yoga, and this incredible project. Oh, I do not like the AI summary, but you can explore all of what went into the project and then the work in progress video, which if we have time, I didn't get consent, so actually I won't share it. But but it is on there for you to explore. There's just Sahar has a project on meditation and poetry, yoga cards for meditation based on poetry in a trauma-informed way, right? So seeing what your community is creating, it's also folks have their contact info there, so you can then connect with them, build, right, work together, and we're excited to add more and more of you to to this registry, and then also to invite you to share in the future Skillshares that we have. So very excited for this. The dream is always the dream has always been a yoga university. And what is a university? It's a place of learning, like Nalanda, right, in ancient India, where people came from all over to learn about yogic ethics, Buddhist ethics, to learn to teach, right? That's the vision. And so we're creating it, you're a part of it. And we may one day have an in-person space. I don't know, but I don't think it matters. We have this space together and we're going to create it and just continue to learn and lift each other up. So, am I still accepting additions? Absolutely. Oh, yes. We would love to have you if you're a grad or a student from the 200-hour, 300-hour trauma-informed yoga social justice. The only thing we ask is that you've turned in your next experience so we can link it, right? Like part of what we're is part of the registry is that you've turned in your next experience, you have your certificate, or you've done, like, completed the requirements for that training. So just so we can have you on the registry in a full and complete way. Any other questions? Oh, nice. Thank you, Linda. Drop the registry form. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yoga therapy. I've been a yoga therapist for 15 years as well, and worked with people one-on-one and in small groups and in, institutional settings, in hospitals, in schools. And that work has found its way a little bit into the teacher trainings, but it is a whole separate training to work with yoga therapy for individuals, also in clinical settings. And the reason I wanted to build a yoga therapy training, I'll just say this because I'm curious if people are interested in this, is to me, yoga therapy is an important role as long as it considers not just individual health one-to-one, but community health, and that it's looking at systemic issues and addresses those. And I don't see any other yoga therapy programs that are addressing from a systemic or community health perspective. And so I want to make sure that we bring in that perspective and learn and teach and train to practice in those ways. So, like shifting environments, cultures, organizations. Yeah. So I will just also personally say that that's great that you're interested in that. And so just fill it out. You'll get an email also that's like, what specifically are you interested in? Because I'm over this year, I'm creating the program and I'll send you more. So it'll be a 2026 exploration. Okay. Any other questions about Ignite or comments before we move into our Skillshare portion? All right, cool. Well, feel free to drop questions or comments in the chat. And y'all, uh, I am very excited. You are in for a treat. We've got Navreet, Danielle, Amy, Melissa, who are going to share. And as a tradition, we will bring our hands together, generate some heat, some light, some energy. If you're presenting, please take some deep breaths, receive with one hand, give with the other hand. Everyone else can send them some great energy and just feel the portal, the energy that we're creating together in this sacred circle. Hmm. Hmm. Lighting up your destiny, your dharma. So excited for all of us in this moment. And Navreet, Danielle, Amy, and Melissa, thank you so much for sharing with us. So again, you don't have to take the whole 10 minutes, but just sharing, you have about 10 minutes. Linda, I think we'll put up a timer. So just to help you. And then we have 5 minutes where folks can share out loud, supportive feedback, like, loving things, trying to be specific about what you noticed, what you loved, maybe questions if you have questions, or connections, right? It's also a time where you can uplift the work that you see shared, right? And say, oh, I want to share that here. I want to bring that here. So we're really like loving each other up. Okay. Navreet, thank you so much for being here and for sharing. I'm going to pass to you and thank you. I'm going to, by the way, I'm going to spotlight you. Um, and you can always, if you prefer, you can always change your view to gallery view. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. And you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you so much, Susanna. So excited to be here. First, I just want to begin with gratitude. So I just graduated from YTT 300 with Susanna, and genuinely the best yoga teacher training ever. It was my first one, so I may be biased, but it was genuinely fun, the most vulnerable I've ever been, actually embodied my unique gifts, my talents, my roots. I attended every Monday class, and that is rare for me because in university, I did not go to many classes. So the fact that I made it to every class is something that I'm just so grateful for, and to have met the most incredible humans. My 2026 experience is something called Community Builders Academy. And before I share more about this, I want to talk about my story. And so here I go. I was born in Abhyana Kala, Rupnagar, Punjab on September 19th, 1998. And here is a picture of me. I have two siblings, and these are my parents who, of course, gave birth to me. So here I am. And I want to share that I come from humble beginnings. To me, this is what, my family moved to Canada when I was 6 years old, and I'm forever grateful for that. And as I was taking out these photos from the photo album, all I remember was how impoverished my whole family was. We lived in just not the greatest conditions, but even through that, when I look at these photos, I see strength. I see my family. I see the place that I grew up in. And here's some photos of my family. Wow, my voice is shaking. That's why I'm glad I'm doing this, because I have not shared this with anyone. But here's some photos of my family. And when I look at this, I see a community, I see family, I see friends, I see lovers, but I also see heartbreak. I also see pain. I see financial loss. I see death. I see separation. When I moved to Canada, I left behind pretty much everyone, well, except for my family. We all migrated together. And I left behind my grandparents, my uncles, my cousins. And sometimes I wonder if the principles of yoga, if they had been lived, embodied, known in my family, would we have felt safe? Would we have stayed connected? Would we have focused on joy instead of just survival? Would we have needed to numb so much pain with substances and violence, or could healing have come sooner? And so I went on a long self-discovery solo journey to figure this out. And most of it happened through yoga as well as my entrepreneurship journey. So going back to some of my past experiences, I have in the past created my own academy called Writers Freedom Academy, where I taught beginner copywriters how to get clients. In 2022, I decided to be a YouTube travel vlogger. In 2025, I launched my book. And now in 2026, I will be focusing on Community Builders Academy. And I have some photos. This was a little about my academy. I just gave it my all when I created this. And it feels like a full circle moment, because now my academy will be called Community Builders Academy. Here's some photos from my travel vlogging. I traveled around Southeast Asia, South America, and I went all in on this. And in 2025, here's some photos from my book launch. And I launched this book during my yoga teacher training, and I have so much love to give for the training, because I would not have felt brave enough to put myself out there like this, if it wasn't for this training and everything I learned. And so going on to my 2026, my next experience is Community Builders Academy. And this is a yoga-inspired path to liberatory leadership. Community Builders Academy is a space for emerging leaders, entrepreneurs, healers, creatives cultural architects who are ready to build community from the inside out. And it's for those of us who are ready to reimagine power, build relationally, not transactionally, facilitate healing spaces with clarity, care, courage, lead from a balanced nervous system, not from urgency, and practice yoga as a way of being in community, not just in physical form. And so when I think about community building and I think about my family, because our first sense of community happens in our family and the people that we grow up around. So this journey for me truly began when I launched my book, If My Heart Could Talk, because in the book, I share the chapters. It's a poetry book. The chapters are literally called Dear Mother, Dear Father, Dear Ancestors, Dear Inner Child, Dear Heart, and saying what I wish I could have said back when we were, here. Could me being honest about how I feel, could it have prevented, and not just within me, my whole lineage, if we just had an opportunity to practice honesty, practice compassion, self-study these ethics of yoga, would we have, been together right now? And pretty much every single person in this photo is probably separated. Here's my mom and I and my grandma. My grandma passed away when we moved away. And I just remember her being in isolation and not having movement in her life, not having yoga in her life. So this goes much deeper what I want to create, but some of the yoga ethics that I see in community building, ahimsa, how do we create a space where no one has to shrink? Satya, what truths are allowed to be spoken here and what truths are silenced? Savadya, self-study. How do I contribute to the dynamics of this community? And I'm going to do something that me being an eldest daughter of an immigrant family, I never ask for help. And for the first time, I'm asking yes in any capacity. And I want to reciprocate that. If I can show up in your community, if you can show up in my community, I want partners, collaboration, support. Here is my contact info. I would love to connect with all of you and build community. And I know I have 1 minute left, but just some thoughts to end with on why this project is so special. Here's a quote by one of my mentors, Simone, and she recently launched a program. And in there, she talks about how many of our siblings who are Black, brown, we charge just enough to get by. And I wanted to talk a little bit about money and how it's a taboo topic and how I'm being honest within myself and the work that I'm doing. So this relates, but they build just enough of an audience to sustain their work. They amass just enough influence to have a seat at the table, but not enough to build the table themselves. And they share two types of power, hard power and soft power. And hard power is tangible resources like money, infrastructure, decision-making, authority. Soft power is cultural influence, relationships, spiritual authority, narrative control. And white supremacy has made a deal with people of the global majority. You can have soft power as long as you don't touch hard power. And here are some examples of this, but I highly encourage, if you're in this business space and you're ready to decolonize and be part of this next movement, especially in business, please look up Simone, and I would love to connect with you as well and do this work. But thank you for listening. I'm so, so grateful for all of you.
Wow. Navreet, this is so amazing. I just got your book. I did want to ask, where do you want us to get it? Where is there like a specific place that can be helpful? I usually use Bookshop just because then it also supports local bookstores. But if you have a link or anything, please share. And yeah, just like taking a moment to honor your ancestors and your family and like the journey that you and they have been on, and feeling the love that you have and like the transformation that is like even now occurring. And I believe it goes backwards and forwards in time, you know? So thank you. And inviting in other folks' voices. Please. What touched you? What moved you? Please jump in. Yeah, you don't need me
Okay.
calling you, Consttina. I'm so happy to see you.
Yes, so good to see you too. Oh my gosh, that was so powerful. Um, one, congratulations on all the things that you've done. What I felt was a strong connection to the journey that has got you to where you are today. I really, really felt that. I felt the vulnerability of giving us a peek into who your family was and is, and how you relate to them then as you do now. I also see how that has really set the foundation for who you are and what you're building today. And I'm so glad to be a witness at this very moment. Because as somebody had said in the chat, I see you, I feel you, and I honor you. So thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing great things. And I will follow you on Instagram.
Thank you. Thank you.
이번에 선물이었어요. 많이 선물했어요. 아니, 커피 아니고요.
So many kind words in the chat.
Great. Thank you so much for that presentation. That was so wonderful to witness. And one thing that Pantaji, he is the spiritual head of the Himalayan Institute, he talks about that when we heal ourselves, we don't just heal in the present moment, but we heal 7 generations forward and 7 generations backwards. And that's what I see you doing right now. And it's remarkable.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Navreet. And just so excited for what is to come. And also, I have many thoughts, so I'll be messaging you as well. So I'm very excited for you. Um, mm. Inviting us to just take a moment, right? We're embodied, we are in bodies. So maybe you're swaying, maybe you're wiggling, maybe you're like bumping up and down, maybe you're doing a little dance. whatever your body is calling for, maybe stomping a little bit. And yeah, just giving your body a moment, right, as we feel this move through us. So just a little shift in our schedule as we explore. I don't see Danielle yet on the call, which sending a lot of care. Hopefully Danielle's all good. We're checking in. But I'll pass to Amy if you're ready, Amy, and just invite you to share.
Okay, yes, I am ready. I'll share my screen. Bear with me. I am not Zoom um adept. Okay, can you hear me, see everything?
Yes, we hear you and we see your presentation.
Okay. So my next experience is about Seva. I want to really start to live the eight limbs more thoroughly in my life. This specifically through service. Little about me. Um, sorry, hold on. I am from Rolling Meadows, now living in Evanston, Illinois. Both are formerly Peoria and Ocheticoin lands. I went to college in northern Wisconsin, where I received my bachelor's in natural resources with an emphasis in forestry. Although, truth be told, I never got a job in my field because unfortunately there is a lot of sexism in that industry. I also was 22 and didn't realize that I needed to apply to more than just a handful of jobs to actually find one. Um, but I, of course, needed to make space for this path, which is my true path anyway. In addition to teaching yoga, I am actually also a figure model for art classes. So for things like drawing classes, painting classes, sculpting classes. I work all over the North Shore area, a little bit in Chicago. Um, I've worked with about a dozen different art teachers. It's fun and nerve-wracking and empowering all at the same time. I also identify as an eclectic witch. I practice a bunch of different styles of witchcraft. That's more recent in my life. Um, I am also queer. I identify as pansexual, and actually, the Pan Awareness Day was just the other day. I'm also chronically spicy. In my mid-20s, about 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with a chronic illness that put me out of work for half a decade and been struggling with that ever since. Um, yeah. And then I'm also a religious and narcissistic abuse survivor. So that has been a huge part of my healing journey as well. And just learning more about myself and what all of that stems from. This is my family, my wonderful supporting partner, Zach, who is a chef who makes sure that I am thoroughly fed for all of my very active yoga classes that I teach, and our little fur babies. I have had a number of amazing teachers throughout my experience, and of course, this is not an exhaustive list whatsoever. But these are the teachers I've spent more of my time with, including Susanna down there. I don't know if you remember um, last year at Bhakti Fest.
Yes, that was
Met you.
amazing.
Yes. I had been following you on Instagram for a while and I decided to go and I didn't even know you were going to be there until like last minute and then I got super excited and a little starstruck. So that was amazing. Hot, but amazing. Um, and of course, Kino and Tim, the top picture. As of Saturday, I am ROT 500, super proud. I am so excited to have finished this training. Just, I haven't glowed like this in a while. I have been actively teaching yoga full time for most of about 3.5 years. I've also been in a very, very short-term trauma-informed training before, and I'm in the Ignite trauma-informed training now as well. I'm also Reiki level 2 certified, and I'm a sound meditation facilitator. So that's fun as well. My path to yoga has been long but short at the same time because I found yoga long, long time ago in my late teens or early 20s. Although at the time I didn't know any more than just stretching on the mat. And it wasn't until about 4 years ago that I really started to learn more about the deep practice and dedicate myself to a yogic lifestyle. When I found yoga that 4 years ago, I was in a toxic marriage. I was dealing with my chronic illness. I wasn't working. And so I spent a lot of time at home, just very sedentary life, and it drove me to a deep depression as well. And I just really was in a really, really dark place in my life. And so yoga really helped me pull myself out of that and finally find the strength to leave the abusive marriage. My chronic illness is so much more manageable than it ever was in the first years. And I actually started teaching yoga and got a part-time job at a podiatrist clinic at the same time and been working since. And it's been a lot better without the marriage energy in my apartment. So that being said, the SEVA part of my project is focused on the SEVA Foundation. Their mission, uh, our mission is to break the cycle of intergenerational inequalities by empowering women and children through education and entrepreneurial opportunities. So basically, they work with other nonprofits to provide housing, education, and job training to women and girls in India affected by human trafficking, violence, and intergenerational poverty. I found them searching for nonprofits that could use my help, and I fell in love instantly. And I decided that this would be my campaign to fundraise at least $5,000. I got that number from the website um, through uh, different ways that I can provide my service. I have a link tree, which I'll provide at the end, where I'm going to add offerings on there. Like I'll do recording classes, and I already have one sequence up um, for sale, just $5, and all the proceeds minus the link tree fees will go to the Save a Foundation. I'm planning on donating sound meditations. I'm going to do some outdoor classes once it gets warm out. It's snowy here. And other ways to spread the word about the Save a Foundation and just try to provide as much service as I can to fundraise as much as I can. And I also mentioned on their free services so that anyone who might be um, low income like myself can also just come for free and explore yoga without the pressure of the financial um, contribution, which is how I was able to join the yoga world at first, having been work study. So I want to pay it forward and provide that to others as well. Um, and I didn't even know until I'd already fallen in love with the Save Foundation that I would also, if I can raise at least $5,000, would be included in an immersion trip to India. So there's a bonus there, and I would get to meet the people who run the foundation and the people that we would be helping in India, and just really, um, see everything firsthand. Also, somewhat unrelated, Linda inspired me to potentially, eventually, one day start a witches circle, most likely virtual, so that there can be more inclusion there. Um, and I don't know what it'll look like yet, but if you're interested, you can reach out and we'll see what we can create together. And yeah, that's basically it for me. Om Shanti. Peace be with all of you. Thank you so much for listening. This is my Linktree QR code. I'm also going to share some links in the chat so that you have that from there as well. The first link is the Seva Foundation basic website. The second one is my fundraiser, and the third one is my Linktree link.
This is so amazing. Thank you so much, Amy, for sharing. And like, what a cool project. I also just want to acknowledge that, and you didn't, it was sort of implicit, but one of the things I always hope when folks do teacher training is that we're exploring how to be in relationship as allies and as accomplices. And so I just really appreciate the thoughtfulness and the service orientation. And then also like the relationship building. Like you'll get to go and hopefully meet folks, and that just creates like less of a saviorist and more of a like a relational, true connection. So I'm really, really excited for your project. And I missed. Sometimes I'm have trouble with details, but is there a time? Like, are you doing this by a certain time, or is like what's the time frame?
First of all, thank you so much. That means so much to me. And I don't think there's really no time limit. I know that their next immersion trip is next month, so obviously that's not going to happen. I don't even have my passport ready. So, um, maybe I'm assuming it's once a year, so maybe next January, like 2027. Hopefully that would be the goal. I'm not sure how often they go, but if it's once a year, then I guess that would be the goal.
Yeah, that seems like a good amount of time to give yourself to like a little more space.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'll have that summer to do all the fun outdoor classes, which of course I love.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. And what a great way to raise awareness too, right? Because one of the things for folks who like offer classes, right? Like, and I think I could do this more actually. I did it a lot when I was teaching in person, is I'd always say like 10% or whatever percent, of this class, the proceeds raised are going to this organization. And so then people get to learn and think about what the organization does, and there's just like a kind of awareness building and education, like soft piece in that as well.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your offering of being an eclectic witch. Yes. Anyone else? We have some time if anyone else wants to share out louder in the chat. Thank you, Amy. Just really appreciating you and your work and your journey as well. Folks are dropping their reflections in the chat. Yeah, it is so nice to share space. And we'll take a moment now to stretch, to move. Maybe choosing something different than you did before. Maybe it's a little bounce. Maybe it's a wiggle. Maybe it's a sway, a yawn, or a giggle, or a belly laugh. And we have our last share, and then we'll move into smaller groups just so we can check in and say hi and get to know one another. And I'll give us a little structure just because I'm one of those awkward, shy people. Maybe I won't say awkward, sometimes awkward, but shy people who it's so helpful to have structure, right? So I'll give us a structure for when we're connecting in our small group spaces, but just so we can get to know one another a little bit more. And then, and also just continue to build community. And so, Melissa, I will pass to you, and very excited to get to hear from you as well.
Hi, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Melissa, and I too just completed the YTT 300 this past weekend. And if you're thinking about taking it, do it. Just do it. It was amazing and so life-changing. So my presentation is my screen shared? Can you all see this? Okay, great. It's called Rising from Fear and Expanding into Fullness. I'm gonna go into the actually I'll just the present mode.
Melissa, we
See
don't
it.
yet see your screen.
Oh, okay. Is there something I need to do to make it work? Or maybe I need to press.
At the bottom, the green button that says share.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
This is good to learn. Okay, great.
And then it'll say, yeah, perfect. And then now we see your screen. So if you hit present on the
Okay.
far right, we should see what you see. You got
it. Thank you so much. That is definitely going to be helpful because my project does involve using Zoom. So rising from fear and expanding into fullness. I love this quote by Pema Chodron. It's from her book, When Things Fall Apart, and it's hard advice for difficult times. Fear is a natural reaction to moving closer to the truth. Embarking on the spiritual journey is like getting into the ocean to search for unknown lands. With wholehearted practice comes inspiration. But sooner or later, we will also encounter fear. For all we know, when we get to the horizon, we are going to drop off the edge of the world. Like all explorers, we are drawn to discover what's waiting out there without knowing yet if we have the courage to face it. All right. And so a little bit about my journey and how we got here is back in 2018, I believe it was, I was studying at the Himalayan Institute of Buffalo, and I did my first 200-hour training, and then I was so inspired and wanted to keep studying that I did my 300-hour training with them, and it was during 2020. So first we were meeting in person, and then halfway through we jumped to online. And part of our completion was to have 100 hours logged of teaching. And yeah, a lot. And so I was like, how am I going to do this? A lot of the other people in my class were already teachers in studios. So I created Yoga in the Park. And it was really cool to reminisce on my journey because I remembered my first class I taught Yoga in the Park. I actually was Googling sun salutations, and I watched your video, Susanna. I either found it through YouTube or through Rachel Brathen's Yoga Girl website, which is how I was introduced to you. So many years later, I've been learning from you this whole time, and I'm so grateful. And it was really wonderful to build yoga in the park. All sorts of people came. It was a donation-based class. It was in a place called Lockport, New York, north of Buffalo, and I just wanted to now acknowledge the land there of the Seneca indigenous Americans, the Native Americans. And before the Senecas overtook that land, it was indigenous to the Wenro people. And it was really great, like I said. And I was kind of naive at that time. I really craved being in a yoga studio and being in community, but what I didn't realize is what I was creating and co-creating with others was so profound. Well, shortly after I completed all my 100 hours, my partner, who this is him and I in this top left corner, this is a picture of us from last August when we celebrated our 6-year anniversary. When we got together, he told me that he was moving to Hawaii because he was born here. He's Native Hawaiian, Kanaka Maoli, and when he was about 4, his mom moved him to Western New York. So in 2021, he and I moved 4,900 miles away so he could return home to the islands, and that's currently where I am on the illegally occupied island of Maui, that again is home to the Native Hawaiians, also known as Kanaka Maoli, and the Polynesian people who are native to these islands. And I left everything behind and I came here. So, and we got here, I started teaching in a yoga studio, and it was great, but I was very naive to the structures of yoga studios and just all of it. So my offering is, I'm going to be offering donation-based yoga classes on Zoom beginning January 5th, 2026, every Monday at 1 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, 3 p.m. if you're on the Pacific Coast, and 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and I still have to figure out what the other times are, but anybody from around the world can come, and all bodies and all levels of practice are welcome. And part of my intention for this is to make yoga accessible to all, to foster and grow community, to create safe spaces to be and breathe, expanding myself and offerings outside of the yoga studio, and to raise money for families in Gaza. 25% of the received donations will go directly to families in Gaza that I'm in communication with through social media. When I was in my first teacher training, the George Floyd cases happened, and we dove right into it. We looked right at it. There was no bypassing. And so when the genocide happened, I was very surprised by how many teachers not only were silent themselves, but also trying to silence me. So naturally, I got louder. And I really felt like alone, especially in this yoga world. And it was one thing that led me to this training. I'd really been wanting to take it for a while, but the price tag was more than I could afford at the time. And this past year it came around and I had exactly the amount of money needed for my down payment and deposit, and I took that as a sign from a higher power to say yes. And I'm so grateful that I did, because this training has helped me to show up authentically and serve and share from my heart what I know to be true from this path, and really voice my warrior spirit and stand up for the vulnerable like this practice teaches us to, and empower others. So clearly Gaza and Palestine have a big place in my heart. So again, I'll be offering donations to those people. And yeah, here's my flyer if you would like to join. If you want to join, you can email me. My email is melissadevine19@gmail.com. Again, it's donation-based. Don't feel obligated to pay. You can share it with anybody you like. I've taught many types of bodies, many able bodies, many disabled bodies, and I'm excited to see what unfolds and who shows up and what we create together. And I just want to share my gratitude and reverence to all of my teachers from Ignite Yoga Institute, Linda, Hyun, and Susanna. And Linda had said something to me that really struck me because I was between a couple different ideas for this presentation. And in an email, she said, this kind of fear often shows up right at the edge of something important. And that's how I knew that offering online Zoom classes was what I was really leaning into. I live off grid, so Wi-Fi and solar and power is it can just go at any time here. We're not on a solar grid. We provide all of our energy ourselves, so that kind of creates fear, like, oh my gosh, what if the Wi-Fi doesn't work, as it didn't for many times, and I couldn't show up to this training. And I also want to thank all of our beloved guest teachers over the last months and all the behind-the-scenes staff for offering their service to make this program happen. And Tijuana, I know they're not here, but thank you so much for helping me with all of my payment issues I've had over the last 6 months. I had fraud on my first payment, so anyways, I would also like to thank all of my fellow classmates and unicorns for all of your time, authenticity, presence, and offering during our shared time. And lastly, I would like to thank my beloved partner, Brandon, the rest of my family for their love and support, God and Goddess, as well as Swami Rama and the Himalayan Institute. And when I was thinking about this, fear is either forget everything and run or face everything and rise by Malaika Wairi. I heard this quote before, and then when I was starting to do my project, I was also finishing my modules, and Susanna had this on module 4, like episode 5, and I was like, oh, there it is, and now I can credit who quoted that. So that was another just amazing thing. And this comes from Swami Rama's poem, I guess, The Ancient Traveler. May we light the fire of love that burns out the ego and enables us to pass from fearful fragmentation to fearless fullness in the changeless whole. And he is the founder of the Himalayan Institute. And then these are just some references where I got the quotes from, and some links if anybody does want to donate directly to Gaza. These are a couple of links. The UNRWA works directly with Palestinian refugees. The Watermelon Relief is a grassroots initiative bringing essential aids to families in Gaza. And the Palestine RCS is the Red Crescent Society, who are actively working, going to bombed buildings and putting their life on the line to care for people. So lots of places to donate, and I would love to have you in class beginning in January on Mondays. So please reach out. Thank you all so much.
Wow. Melissa, I'm so glad that your Wi-Fi worked. Here. So thoughtful and so interwoven. Just really feeling the heart behind your project and what you're doing. Yeah, really grateful. And yeah, I'm just like, it's funny because when you shared Malika's quote, I actually met Malika. She gave a TED Talk the same time I gave my TED Talk. I was like, how do you know Malika? And so I just feel like, it's that family feeling. And what I received from your share is really that family, that feeling of like global family, and your offering is a way of inviting us into that, both in the impact that it will have, but also in the space that you're holding. So thank you. Yeah. Anyone else in the chat or out loud? Yeah, just also feeling that connection to standing up for what's right, and continuing on that path, even when voices try to silence us or it's not popular. Or so very grateful for that, and for you, and for the keffiyeh you wear in a lot of our classes. Yeah, just appreciating. So we'll take a moment and stretch, and really just anchoring in what you're moving into with yoga in this time of the year closing and then a new year opening. Again, it's arbitrary. Time is arbitrary, but seeing the projects, right? Being in this community where we're inspiring each other and uplifting each other and hopefully connecting. You can always go on the registry and reach out to folks, support their work, share their work, communicate with them. You can add yourself. Please do add yourself. If you're interested in a training, you can take a training, or you can write to us with questions about the training. Linda, maybe you can drop the email or the links there. And then I know some of you will have to go, and I know we don't have a ton of time, but I think maybe we'll do groups of like two to three, and just so we can have that time in a small group together to say like, hi, I see you, right? You could say it literally, like, I see you, where you are in the world, and one way yoga is showing up for you, or you want it to. And I'll invite us to just take a moment, a breath, and tune in, like, what is one way yoga is showing up for me, or I want it to. And then we'll move into breakout groups. And if you need to go, we appreciate you so much. We wish you well. We'll see you hopefully in the new year at another Skillshare, or just along the path. And just so much gratitude for you. And if you can stay for our breakout space, excited to do that. And we'll it'll be short. It'll be like 4 minutes, 3-4 minutes. So Linda, are we able to open the breakout rooms? Thank you to each of you. We're gonna be small. Maybe we just stay here. Or are people joining? Oh, people joined. Yay. Okay, great. All right. Okay, I'm gonna join a room. Okay, cool. Welcome back. That was so nice to get to just share with a few folks. I know folks are coming back in just a moment, but anyone who's here have anything they want to share with how yoga's moving in your life? It's so nice to see folks. Mm. I think we're all back. This was way more awesome than I dreamed it could be. Just really acknowledging Navreet, Amy, Melissa, for sharing, and to everyone for your presence. Please, like, continue this, right? Like, oh my goodness. Please share on the registry form if you want to be on the Embody Yoga's Roots registry. We'd love to have your work up there, you up there. If you'd like to take a training, whether it's 200, 300, or yoga therapy, please feel free to ask us any questions about that. And then we will have another Skillshare in the new year, probably. I don't actually know when. We'll figure that out, but sometime in the new year, because I know there's already some folks who want to share. We got some messages where people are like, I would like to do it. And we'd love to have you do it. So let's just keep building this, right? And so if there's one word or one aha or thing that you can take away through the rest of this year and into the new year, I feel like my word, it's not one word, but it's caring community. It's community building, right? And care, like bringing community care and care and community. Perhaps you want to drop that in the chat or invitation to unmute and share your word out loud. And we'll do a radical unmuting and say goodbye. Please feel free to share your words. And ta-da, we did it. Thank you. Celebrating you. Connection, courage, action, trust, joy. And share your words out loud or say goodbye.
Audacity. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for spending this time.
You.
Thank you. Loving
Thank
everybody.
you, beautiful people. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Susanna. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.